Rocket base, just my way of saying it's from a high tide flag, but it's just going to be a big base, less than 50% decline. So basically a regular base, but we're looking for more time. So inside days, and that's one of the entry techniques. Low volume inside day will shoot against that on some kind of a turn. And it's just, you're going to see it over and over again. You have to have your preferences because there's nothing worse than breaking your rules and catching a stop. Everyone's going to get a stop. But if you break your rules and get a stop, you should be angry and break a keyboard, right? Because you messed up. You have to be consistent in your actions. Otherwise, you're a random trader and get random results. You want to be protective, but there's certain times to press it. And that's when things are working. That's when you press it. You know, when you have that shakeout, the handle gets upgraded and the turn is addable at highs. And then you get this big move and another shakeout yesterday, news, you can even add to it.
For everybody watching, Leif went through that fast, but you should watch that all again because, you know, the RS divergence with price, the shakeouts, the mini spots, the inside days. Watch that back carefully, look at the chart for yourself, mark it up for yourself, and try to identify those spots after, you know, those turns. All right, welcome back everybody to the TraderLion podcast, brought to you by the Ultimate Trading Guide as well as Deep View. Joining us today is Leif Soreide, U.S. investing champion and high tight flag specialist. And that's really what we'll be focused on today, just throwing a lot of reps at you, going through a lot of recent examples, and we'll be covering even more on in the high tight flag masterclass with Leif, which we'll talk more about later on in the interview. But Leif, thanks so much for joining us again. You know, I always learn something new when I talk to you, and you know, how's everything going? And maybe talk a little bit about high tight flags for people who aren't familiar with the concept.
Yeah, I mean, I'm learning a lot too. We're organizing all our high tight flag notes and maybe making that more into a system, which is great. So even if you know what you're doing, you've been doing it for years, you're going to pick up something that's very likely. So that can help you with your trading. And this is all this study and all this. I love it. It helps me with my trading. We've had a lot of high tight flags, and the reason, you were asking how I sort of ended up there. You trade the slower stuff over time, and I'm sort of have a trend following background. And then you want to get into high momentum stuff. So you can sort of flip in and out and compound your account, faster than trading utilities and dividend growth stocks, things like that. So, and there's nothing faster than high tight flags. And we trade around that power too. We'll probably get into some like CORZ, which it's from high tight flag power, and some of them go up 700%. You're not always going to get a flag that's 25%. So we've done a lot of study and work and traded for a lot of years on this stuff. And we have, a lot of notes that make sense and methods that are sort of repeatable, coming from the CAN-SLIM background, of course, and putting it all to work. And we'll try to tie it together. And everybody wants to follow the winners, right? The big contest winners, like myself. I trade with Leosh on Champion Team Trading, championteamtrading.com. I think he's going to win. He's in the lead. Best of luck to him. He's traded ASTS and a lot of stuff, that we're looking at too. Of course, he's doing his own trading. I take no credit. It's all him. But it's nice to have some of these, once in a while he'll drop some stuff that we can, get inspired by or even look at. But everybody wants to be that winner, but it's really about being the best loser. This is the thing. It's like people don't want to lose, but we've got to recognize that we go into a trade, we're probably going to lose. So how are you going to lose? And sometimes you're right and wrong at the same time. We're just trying to limit those losses and, use context clues and sort of think beyond the pattern. This is my catchphrase. Everyone's sort of pushed to me, say, this is your catchphrase. I'm like, okay, I guess we'll use it, because we like to kind of layer odds on top of trades, and instead of just I give you a chart that's a cup and handle or something like that. Why is that going to work versus the other? We can always find something like that any day of the week. So it's a matter of trying to put it all together and saying, well, in context, this is the group, this is the similar stocks that are working. Are high tight flags working? And when you have a lot of those working, which we're doing right now, different themes, or rockets only is a old thing we used to say in 2020, 2021, and we're actually in the middle of a rocket theme right now, which is kind of funny. And then we're doing the high tight flag class, and it's a great idea by you, and all the timing is great. So we have plenty to show that's recent, and I don't like hindsight trading, as everybody knows. So a lot of the stuff is really fresh trades, what we're in right now, and we'll show some of that right now and get into that. And yeah, I mean, it's right now it's been a really good run trading, and it's just about how much you can keep in the money and kind of getting on margin if you're a contest trader, heavy, and not really having any losers as much as possible, right? You roll them out. We're doing a lot of that work and trying to see what's going to stick and push the money in that. Even gold miners are doing great. It's just inflation coming and stuff. So anyway, we could dive into some trades or whatever you like.
Yeah, bring up the first example, and as you're doing that, like Leif said, I think a key thing that we'll be talking about in the class is the nuances, and that's what really sets things apart. And Leif, you mentioned ASTS. That was an example that you used in your presentation during the TL conference back in the summer. Since then, you traded exceptionally well. It's up several 100% since then. That kind of shows the power of the high tight flag. And we actually have a special offer for people watching this. If you're interested in the class and want kind of a sneak preview, send us an email at support@TraderLion.com. That's support@TraderLion.com, and we'll send you a quick preview of Leif's slides as well as the high tight flag model book that is part of the class as well. So if you're interested at all, reach out to us, and you can go ahead and get a sneak preview, as I mentioned. So let's jump right in, Leif. This has been a rocket ship stock in many senses of the word. Talk us through maybe, from the start. When did you first notice this name? When did it get on your radar? And then we'll kind of get into how you manage the trade as well.
You see the screen okay, right?
Yep.
So
Perfect.
Okay, so we're using all these red circles are entries, and blue is typically sales. The first entry, as you can see over here, if you can see my cursor too?
Yep.
Okay, right in there. And then I actually sold a little in strength, stopped even, and rebought it. So it's not as easy as it looks. We want to battle. We're not going to necessarily take losses all the time, right? I mean, sure, I could have given it 5% or something like that and used a 21 EMA, but we're going to be aggressive with these. The story is there. I mean, we get into all the details about why a high tight flag is good, and we even go into studies, in the class that were very flawed. Okay, I believe you can get your trading with high tight flags in line with your regular swing trading if you put all what we're going to show to work. So that's why the class is going to be key to somebody trading a high tight flag. Spec bios, I've kind of moved on a lot from those, as people know on the platform, just because the random data comes out. We can do fine with other stuff. It's like China stocks. We don't trade them, just for preference, promise of the revenue through the Caymans, things like that. And you can't no claim on the assets, things like that. But, there's other stuff that's more liquid and better to trade in my view. So anyway, I get sidetracked there, but we're getting in here. We're looking for ad spots, and we're trying to size up along the way. Sometimes taking scales and, ad spots, and we're looking for ad spots, as it sort of turns up, and really selling it all, into strength up there. And then on the way down, we're trying to get back in, but we're really having some trouble because it never turned. It's just making a bigger base. So it's a matter of, getting in here and here, selling some of the strength, stopping even, doing the same, over here, getting in, selling some of the strength, and could have stopped even there as well. And once again, trying to play it off the 50, and the 50 is a very important area for high tight flags, as we're going to look at examples going back to Axon, which is there was two on top of each other, maybe three, depending on how you want to argue it. That's going to be a good example. 2003 or so, I think. And this one turned up, but rolling back to 50, you're out again. So, and then we have methods where some of my members know a few techniques we use on these that got an even lower. So they're in there from, they're in there from 10, 16. So, I think it just needs that more sideways drift, and we'll take a little look at it there, but this is working on a new base, and there's no real right side yet. So, and that's what we like to see. Go ahead.
Yeah. So looking at your entries, it seems like you're really focused on either entering right kind of from a very tight area.
That's right.
Within a flag, kind of getting in earlier than kind of the high that it's put in,
Right.
Or you're looking after kind of an upside reversal bar within a flag, within a consolidation. So
Yeah.
kind of talk me through the rationale behind that and kind of what you're looking for to identify those prime entries.
Well, if you're cup and handle, study that. VCP from intervening is the same kind of idea, just this kind of tightening throughout the base, and we're looking for some kind of a turn. We're using inside days. Volume, we like kind of volume drop. We like to read, and we don't ever know for sure, but if volume dries up, we get a look and say, hey, maybe the sellers are kind of slowing down or they're done with it, and the buyers can take control over certain points. So that's what we're playing and trying to get size. Obviously, you have to get as big as possible to really juice your account and get those contest returns, and really not have so many positions. You have to get as much as you can in a big winner, something like this. This will change your account if you're getting 25% or something like that in this, and selling it into strength. But even on the way down, it's all basically all for naught, just kind of trying to get back in something so strong. And I tend to do that. Something that really worked out for me, I'll tend to be aggressive with it. If these were all new entries, I wouldn't have done that. But the amount that we made on it was really good. So it's like you can play with a few percent here and there at different points, and they almost all went right in the money and gave us a chance to get out. So that's what being a great loser is all about. Okay, right. So if I was a sore loser and always want to be right and say, well, I was right before, I'm still going to be right. You got to change your attitude. It's like the guys or girls with the bad relationship. If you got to be able to cut that off fast, right? I mean, you want to be a winner. You don't want to be a loser. And so we're trying to stay in the winning column here. That's what it's all about. So being the best loser and say that I was wrong and taking it off and moving on to the next one until this works. And this will probably work on the right side if the idea is there. And I get some of these ideas from my members who, somebody on their boat in Hawaii talking on their sat phone says, I'd rather have the 5G from space. Iridium sucks, was what they were saying. And bad data out there, right? You can't watch this podcast on your yacht. So, 5 miles out, you're going to need 5G from space, and maybe Tesla can do it all that. So we do think a little bit beyond the fact that it's the high tide flag. Right. And, it's also one of these Wall Street bet stocks that are, up there now. So once it's all very known, it gets a little wild, as you see on the right side. It was a little more unknown when we first started trading it. And there's certain dollar levels we're going to get into that we actually prefer, that I find work the best. And, different grades to give to your high tide flags is what's going to really help you sort of think beyond the pattern and put your money in the right stuff. Yeah. So, go ahead.
Yeah, I got two questions on this chart. So right now, it was a high tide flag back in the summer area of last year. Now you would kind of classify it more as a rocket base, right? Because it's declined,
That's right.
about 50% from highs. But like you said, it's still got that high tide flag power, the momentum that you're looking for. Right. Maybe talk a little bit about the rocket base, how you came up with that, and kind of how people can use that to trade.
Well, obviously O'Neill came with a high tide flag, and rocket base, just my way of saying it's from a high tide flag, but it's just going to be a big base, less than 50% decline. So basically a regular base, but we're looking for more time. When you decline more than 25%, you want to see, for rocket base, we're looking for like 6 to 10 weeks. It can be a little wiggle room. You don't want to always be so perfect. I mean, it depends on how it looks, but that's sort of the target. And you don't want to, these can continue on. They'll just, this will make a new base and then go on to the next area. This could go to $60 or something like that. So along the way, I'm looking to find that spot that I'm comfortable with, that gives me a good risk reward. Get on there again and ride it up. It's like, we're going to go over Celsius energy drink from the original entry I did there. I think it was in 2019. It went 900%, but I'm trying to trade it along the way, and I'm never going to capture all of it. But it's, you capture that quick 100% move, sort of like this. That's account changing. And, it's so fast, and then you have good gains to spend on all kinds of other opportunities. And we're looking at, Rocket Lab and all this other stuff right now, and a lot of it's working. And maybe I wouldn't be so loose with it if I didn't get this one. So you really do need to be a winner to get more winners in a way. So you finally catch a winner, protecting yourself though. I stopped out and went back in. I wasn't sure it was going to work.
Right.
So it's all about the protection, and that's going to be probably the most important thing to learn when you're trying these explosive trades. And we even have low tight flag. I don't know that I have an example here, but it doesn't quite make it. So we're just looking for bases from strong sort of high tight flag like moves. And one of the more interesting things you're going to see is, and I just have so many examples of what's not a high tight flag, because everyone asks me, what's a high tight flag, right? I don't know if you want me to do one, but I get a lot of
Yeah.
I'll do it right now if you want.
Yeah.
DOL. So this is high tide flag power here, and it's sort of the range is a high tide flag, right? But I don't consider this a high tide flag because from like this level, the rise I think is like 40%.
Mm-hmm.
So it just needs a new base and needs to pull back on top of support. So really not for me. And my members knew I'm looking for some kind of a shakeout, and they reminded me we sort of got it today. So after that, I'm more interested, but at the same time, I'm still looking for kind of a little more of this, right? So,
right.
Of course, anything could happen. This could just work, but you have to have your preferences, because there's nothing worse than breaking your rules and catching a stop. Everyone's going to get a stop, okay? But if you break your rules and get a stop, that's when you should be angry and break a keyboard, right? Because you messed up. Like, you have to be consistent in your actions. Otherwise, you're a random trader and you get random results. So.
Yeah, going back to ASTS, I had one more question on this one.
Sure.
Your last buy before, right after earnings, your buy through that little tight area.
Yeah.
No, actually, to the left more. Right after earnings plus 19%. There was a tight area right before earnings that I think you marked as a buy, but I couldn't sure.
Oh, this one.
Yeah, is that kind of an earnings pivot? What you're looking for there?
That's right. So I think I need to include the earnings pivot and high tight flag. Anything on earnings taking out some kind of a level, you sort of want to have a preference for, because earnings are meaningful. A lot of the patterns are tight area into earnings. Why do you think it's a tight area? They're waiting for confirmation a lot of times, right? So everybody gets all excited about a tight area and they trade them right into earnings a day or two before. Why are you going to do that? You're going to get 2 risk multiples right before earnings? No, I'd rather wait for earnings, buy point, and then buy it after earnings, where there's a lot of that confirmation, especially if you see some guidance raised, things like that. So,
yeah, and it by no means has high tide flag power right now, but just a name that's tightening into earnings right beforehand, waiting for confirmation. As an example of that, we've got Tesla. If you bring up that chart, it's been tightening the past week or so, just kind of waiting. Obviously, this is after a gap down, completely different situation.
right.
But earnings are tomorrow. Anything can happen.
I mean, I think it's more of an earnings pivot to the short side. This
Exactly.
breaks the downside. So, yeah, right. So that you could do either way, but this is just the sideways base, not trending. It got the ants on the screen there, but this isn't for me. I know a lot of people are interested in it, but I'm more interested over this kind of 271 area, and I want to see the moving averages start to trend. And anyway, we don't want to look at this one too much.
Yeah, let's bring up cores. I think is one of the key ones you want to talk to.
Yeah. So they had some kind of news today about power. They're getting some more power or something like that for their business. But something we look at here. This is the high tide flag that fails. Right, you get this big decline here, but you're within the rocket base range now. So we want to get involved with something this strong, and now we're in the better dollar range. $10 plus. I'm not trading anything below $5. I'll tell you, they'll start there. So don't show me don't at me on don't slide in my DMs anything under 5.
You don't want a microcap, Leif, that can
no, I don't
drop 80% the next day. Yeah.
No, because I like to put real money to work, and it's having a big position in this is very uncomfortable. But there's a lot of things about it that I could go over, and it's like it sort of has this head and shoulders spirit of one anyway, right? You see these kind of marks there: left shoulder, head, right shoulder. Shakeouts, I love that. And shakeouts sort of at market lows, I discount, right? So you get this kind of market shakeout and the low. So that's at the market low and it snaps right back. You can sort of discount that. So, it's tighter than it looks if you take that away. And as it starts, it doesn't break here after this right shoulder. You're not getting that confirmation. So, and then we're coming up off lows and the market pulled back and this didn't break. So that's where I'm using this sort of almost an inside day and a turn there after it shook and took off there, I think. So we like shakeouts and something we really have a lot of examples on. We're working on this on the platform is these shakeout lows and so you have this kind of, you know, you have your cup and your sort of handle base there,
Hmm.
and there's add spots. So I'm noting you can add these different areas. I added along the way here also, but after taking some scales in here, personally, you know, there's a lot of ways to do it. But you know, when you have that shakeout, the handle gets upgraded and the turn is addable at highs, and then you know, you get this big move and another shakeout yesterday, news, and then you can even add to it. And I'm looking for 15 or 16, and I was saying this when we bought it, and then we're seeing price targets of like 16 and stuff. So I think that's you know, probably a good target, good enough for me. So we'll see how far it can go, and look for violations and raise stops once we get there and take some profits, hopefully. So
Yeah, for everybody watching, Leif went through that fast, but you should watch that all again because he pointed
oh,
out
sorry.
the no, it's good because you covered a lot in just a
Yeah,
few seconds. But you know the RS divergence with price, the shakeouts, the mini
yeah,
spots, the inside days. Watch that back carefully. Look at the chart for yourself. Mark it up for yourself, and try to identify those spots after you know those turns because those type of alternate entries that you talked about here and you're going to be expanding on in the class that can help you trade even if you don't trade high tie flags. It can help you you know manage risk tighter, like Leif said, become the better loser, and just you know help you find those low risk buy points. So yeah, definitely recommend watching that back. Anything more on course here? I know you had RKLB as one that you've been trading recently as well.
yeah, the RKLB. This is something we're going to show. It looks pretty scary from our entry right in there, but it's
And right, really tight inside day right there, right
yeah, you're
before your
going to
entry.
see that's a pretty standard early entry for me in a high tight flag. Once we get past a certain point, this spot here too is something we went
Right.
over, and I didn't listen to myself. Sometimes I should subscribe to myself better, right? This was pointed out. Some people got that. I missed this spot. Kind of pulled back on top, so we're kind of lower dollar, but the theme was starting to heat up. Aerospace defense is good,
Yep.
and you know, launching things into space. You know, definitely can be a meme stock. But once you get, you know, the $10 levels, a little more preferred for me. You know, you can shoot against these lows. You know, you're kind of wrong as you start to roll down. So you know, you pop back up there. You're right in the money, and you know, kind of breaking this high there is pretty decent little high tight flag, and looks like it's working its way higher. And how far it goes, I don't know. But at this point, I'm going to try not to lose on it, pending some kind of you know, pre-market gap lower or something like that. But hopefully gaps to the upside. You know, we'll
Yeah.
try to catch something like that once in a while. So
And for your entries, Leif, is there a percentage to your stop that you're looking for? Are you trying to keep it within
yeah,
5%? What are
yeah,
you
I
kind of looking for? Yeah.
typically like 5%. You know, if you shoot against some prior inside day low and stagger it, you know, so yeah, you don't want to go huge. I mean, you want to be wrong, and a lot of times you're gonna have to try this several times. You know, high tight flag. If the you know you want to start scaling really at like 3R, so it sort of gives you that leeway, and it's sort of getting a bunch of them right anyway right now. So you have that chance to keep the size in the ones that are moving, and this actually pretty good percentage. You get from 950 up to over 11 right away. It doesn't look like a huge move, but you know, if you have enough size, it's pretty good move there. But we're looking at other ones. You know, some of them aren't going to be easy. I don't want to say, hey, come on and check this out. I mean, this is what I was saying, that you know, Leosh and I both thought this was a good spot. There's news and basically top tick the third scale there, right, and then third back off even, and they're just sort of rolling down. So I'm pretty tiny, but just like, you know, a tick lower, this thing's out for me. But I think this, it does have a chance to turn up. I mean, I think it was positive news. I just think too many traders got a hold of it or something to making it look crazy. So and that's the other game within the game. You have to sort of understand maybe what's going on with your stock. So you know, but this stock doesn't owe me anything. You know, it sets up this kind of cup and handle off the 50. The first
Right.
touch of the 50 is typically viable per O'Neill, and you get some kind of a tight area. And the longer the handle is, the more time I want on it, and then we'll turn up and buy the daily turn, uh, and try to keep it profitable. But this stock doesn't owe me anything. If it wants to go, I'm there for the ride. And, you know, you hold for a couple of days and it blows up. So what? You know, there's other ones, and there's a lot of them, and that's part of
Yeah.
the scanning. And you know, DPU has my scanner on there, right? I guess my name's on a scanner. We looked at that. That gives some pretty good results. So check that out. Uh,
And I
Go
got
ahead.
a follow-up question for this one. So, Lumen, that day where we had the big gap up, what's kind of your mindset when that happens? And you mentioned, scaling out.
Yeah.
When did you actually take your scales to make sure, of course, you're locking in profit? And I mean, that gap was 20-30%. It was pretty
Yeah,
insane.
I got
Yeah.
20% move there
Yeah.
right away with the news or the meta news, I guess. And you get these kind of gaps, and you take out this high. A lot of people want to buy highs. I'm probably going to sell some there, right?
Yeah.
So because I'm getting as early as possible, and these highs are always sloppy, and I'm usually trying to get in earlier in a high tight flag, but that's other notes we're going to show for different distances in the flag and all that, where you're going to be a little more likely to take a high buy than an early entry.
Right. And sorry, I'm gonna make you bring up RKLB again because I want to hear your thoughts on kind of the volume around your buy points or the potential buy points, both near the sixth
Yeah.
level first and then the one you recently took. Because I think it was in one of our first podcasts where you talked through the volume and the tight areas, and I think it's just a
Yeah.
great thing to look out for newer traders out there.
So what we call this is we just call it dead volume. You could also call it sort of a reverse pocket pivot if it gets there. I think we had one over here where it's sort of like the
Yep.
lowest volume in 10 days. So inside days, and that's one of the entry techniques. Low volume inside day will shoot against that on some kind of a turn. And this just, you're going to see it over and over again. That's what I'm saying. This looks like a scary, scary entry, but it's like if you handled enough dynamite, you just see it. That's where it's at. They printed inside quiet, this bar right here, basically no volume, right? That's the inside bar. Taking out that high, that's where we're getting in. There's some light check back, but you got to give it a little wiggle room, at least to if you want to be super aggressive. I mean, sort of stopping, prior inside day low is one way to do it, but it just kind of goes, and then that's where you're making your profits. Maybe Lumen, maybe I would have messed that up had I waited till the end of the day.
Right.
We got, I'd say some of it's luck. We also look at risk multiples. So how do I know when to sell? 20%, you get 4 risk multiples betting 5%, right? So you're taking some off into that. So and then you can always look to put it back, as we sort of did with ASTS. As you get these little spots along the way that look good, you can always size back up. They'll usually give you a little spot. It's sort of like GEV. I mean,
Yeah.
this might be my biggest trade of the year, actually. Dollar wise, because I got these 2 buys here after this little shakeout here.
Yeah,
Basically,
that's a beautiful
IPO.
shakeout right there. That's
Yeah,
perfect.
IPO cup and handle shakeout. Now we're wrong below that shakeout low, and the shakeout low ran everybody out. So that's where I'm coming to bad cleanup, and noted these 2 buy spots. And along the way, you have these flags, and just trading just flawlessly, and just add. You can add along the way too. But I prefer to get huge right there at the right spot. And then you're selling some into strength, and then we go into earnings, and obviously taking it down into earnings some. But I still want, and it could be a little bit like IBKR. I mean, this is a trade we closed out up 20%, and you get these big expectations. It moves huge, so we closed it out into this, and it's just it can go wild. I mean, it's like this is a huge move, and I sold early, and then kind of shakes out crazy. Just something else. I mean, it's like STX getting in here. And one of the things I like to use too, I think is great, is you see these earnings pops in a market correction.
Hmm.
They tend to get sucked back down with the market, and then you want to sort of attack that the next time it sets up, as we did here. And I think this is a Druckenmiller name too, so I want to get a little bit on there. But it took it down to 25% size into this, up 9%, because we messed up, or I messed up, NTAP, buying it here and stopping out right at the open today, which was a good stop. Is it under 1% loss? But when you see that, that's when you size down the similar name in the group for data storage. STX is a similar name, so I don't know what's going on with the other one, but if it can't hold, I'm a little more likely to take this one down, and we'll get the random wheel spin. But in the money, we'll see. So nothing great there yet.
Yeah, this one, that tight area is right near all the moving averages. Is that kind of what you're looking for to enter up the right hand side of the base?
Right. So you print that inside day, and then you're starting to turn up, and you can use this kind of a little pivot there right off the 50. So that looked pretty good coming up off the market lows. And but we did a lot of work recently. We looked at a lot of these like now. So when you get this kind of pullback in the market from the earnings pop, it tends to suck it back down.
Right.
Then you want to buy some kind of a turn. This is a little aggressive, not the best textbook spot, but we're looking to raise exposure as we started to climb. And then we're holding, you know, smaller size into this earnings, up double digits, something there. So, and it's just this is repeated over and over again, just off the top of my head. If you want to go over some of these, good market pullback. Q2 is one, buying this turn, and just nice trend, just trending perfect the whole way. So, you get this clue that it wants to go based on the earnings reaction, and the market pulls it in. That's I'm looking for the next spot that kind of works. So everybody can add that to their little toolbox. I think that's something we've done a lot of work on that. Just a couple examples of the work we've been doing there. So, but yeah,
And
that's
like,
that's something that I think is worth fleshing out.
yeah, and after your entries, I guess what do you think? If you have the hard numbers, that'd be great. But from your view, how long are you looking to hold a name? Are you looking to just kind of hold through that first earnings cycle? Are you holding a few
Yeah.
weeks? Does it depend on the name? Because these are a little bit slower moving than, of course, an
Yeah.
ASTS or
Well, this one also has some pretty good ad spots along the way. So
yeah,
if it's
all the
trading
21 ER.
great, if it's trading great, you're adding to it even if you in trying to hold it longer. If it starts acting up, doesn't perform great on earnings like STX, I'm giving it a little room. It's a Druckenmiller name. I'm a little in the money, even though after this little pullback after hours, we'll see if it does anything. But it's all how it's acting, looking for violations, of course, and trying to get in the stronger stuff. If I see another high tight flag setting up, I'll need to pull some off, of these other names. So, and I don't really want to be a mutual fund, but you're gonna hold some, just trending. I mean, that's the easy thing to do. These stocks are going to work for you, trending that holding the 50-day. This one holds it great, so maybe this goes to 100. One Livermore until it gets some issues. We'll see.
And I think you wanted to go over FLR as well, I think, right?
Well, yeah, and that's the importance of staying on theme. I mean, we went over GEV, and it was a little early on the nuclear theme. I missed like SMR and some of these crazy ones. There was we could have probably done something with it here, but it's just really not our style, right? So you're gonna get chopped up in a lot of that. So, but that's the theme. But yeah, FLR. So you sort of have to go into some places no one's looking, right? So I think someone's got to build these plants, and I think FLR is one of them. So I think I'm on theme, and this is sort of a little bounce and roll setting up, and then it got negated there. So we're looking for that pivot to break, and we're getting in over here, and we'll see how far we can ride it. And the group looks pretty good. And we'll see about GEV earnings. We'll see if this continues to trend or not. I mean, this could be your next high tight flag, but the theme is a little bit out there. So we'll see, what the market thinks about what they report and how far away those earnings are, et cetera, et cetera. So you definitely want to be on theme and think beyond the pattern and buy the patterns within the right themes. Otherwise, you're going to be just getting that random wheel spin.
Yeah, it's funny. 2 years ago, if you told me we'd be trading nuclear power plant themes, I wouldn't have believed you. But that's the
Well, here's
market.
here's the thing, and I was telling our members this. Nuclear is something that everybody thought was dirty or something, but until everybody needs nuclear. You got Zuckerberg, he needs it. Microsoft, Oracle, they all need this stuff. All of
Right.
a sudden, it's super clean. Okay, well, that's going to be obvious. So that was why it was a great theme because everybody's going to switch to that. So.
And how much are you looking at the earnings and sales and the estimates as well? Because
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, we do note them, and we'll see. We want to see a growing company. If you get something setting up that is falling apart on the numbers, there's something else going on there usually, or it's mispriced. So we do want to see fundamentals and a lot of potential. I think the future is the most important. Like ASTS, of course, is not making any money, but if they bring 5G, you know,
Right.
across the globe, you can be on your boat and stuff watching this podcast. That's worth something, and maybe worth $60. I mean, we're talking about what's the market cap on this thing? It's 7 billion, so some heavy share count out there and stuff. But we'll see. I mean, they launched satellites. News can drive it, upgrades and stuff, and upgrades and a high tight flag at the buy point is what you want to see, and that's what you want to hit to raise your odds. I mean, there's a lot of stuff to look at. Add that on the slide deck. I got a couple notes to do. We're almost there. The high tight flag class it's going to be good. So
Yeah, you've been adding so many examples. I can't even keep
I think
tracking them
too
all.
many. I don't know. Everybody's gonna. It's very exciting to see a high tide flag. For me, I don't know. So maybe we
No,
should make it 18 plus. I mean, this is going to be very exciting.
no, I think it'll be good because it helps train your eyes. Even just going through these here with you, I'm sure everybody watching, you're starting to notice the similarities in Leif's buy points. How he likes to buy from tight areas, volume declining after a big burst in power, like throwing a lot of Stan Weinstein called hitting a lot of tennis balls at you. That's what we'll be doing here, and of course in the class as well, even to a greater extent with the model book as well. So no, I think it's great, and it's kind of the way that you learn to spot them for yourself, and that's of course the ultimate goal. One follow up here, you mentioned how important the kind of 50-day is for tracking these high tide flags and the rocket bases. Could you maybe kind of talk a little bit about how you use that, and how do you use that to
Sure.
kind of judge if a stock's still in trend?
Well, we have maybe the best high tide flag of all time example, really riding that 50 for multiple hundreds of percent. We're going to show that, and the 50 is really where the big money comes in to pick these up. That's why I was even willing to try ASTS on the 50, but I'm not always going to be right. So big pop, I get a risk multiple, and I roll the 50, I'm out. So this was actually a pretty good sequence on the right side here. Excuse me. This is running up the right side, getting it wrong all the time, trying to get back in, but being able to protect myself every time, or even having a profit scale here and there. I think we took some up there. Didn't take any here, and just I said, okay, this is where we can roll out, right?
Hmm.
So there you go. I mean, it's just a matter of trying to see, if this was the big move back, right, and you're back to 60, that's possible too. But you were a little extended from the 50, so that's why
Right.
over there I'm starting to peel that off, right? So there was an alert where I said sell any add-ons and stuff, into this day, and I'm early. I'm a couple days early, so you sort of maybe want to play some, break of a prior low, start to roll over there. It's just kind of wedged up, and that's one way to do it too. And make sure you're getting out there and booking some gains, because a lot of them are going to roll all the way back. So that's why you want to target those 100% areas. And a lot of the flag is caused by those kind of round numbers and the whole Livermore idea. You get 100%. Somebody fooling around with it down in here, and they're up a certain percent, around $10, nice round number. They're going to start to pause it, maybe take some off. And you have to think about the psychology behind the flag and what's causing it, where the buyers are going to come in. And when you get too far extended off the 50, they're probably going to sell it. You're going to need a new base. But anything's possible. So it's always good to kind of hold a little something for, like a trailing stop. If this didn't break here, I'll clean this up. If this didn't pull back in here and this just continued up, that'd be all right. You just kind of ride it. But I think there's ways to, sort of play the prior lows once you get comfortable with, okay, I'm up over 100%. I got to be really protective, or just sell it. I mean, if you could top tick that, great, good for you. I mean, I'm never going to get the exact top, right? Maybe one time I've done that ever. So, but sometimes LUMN, that was not a bad little scale, but then you get crashed back down. Like I said, these don't owe you anything. They don't know you're there. So you can't take it personally. You got to be a good loser.
And and how much do you like to hold for a bigger move? Because it seems like you're pretty
Yeah.
aggressively scaling out. Are you holding kind of 25% of your original position for,
Well, you
what?
you
Yeah.
want to do your add-ons. I mean, you'll take some scales, but I mean, once you're getting up here, you should be after earnings. You should be up to
Yep.
50%, then up into that, you should be really winding it down to trailing size 25% or less, and trying to get as big of a position as you can. And somebody asked, what am I struggling with the most? I mean, for me, it's just getting like full all my money max margin. That's hard, because you can wake up if you're millions on margin, you're going to get killed on a bad day if there's some war or something. So you want to be protective, but there's certain times to press it, and that's when things are working, that's when you press it. So that's your personal signal. Maybe you're messing up all over the place this year. I mean, I don't really see how that's too possible, but it's possible. You could pick the wrong ones, and your personal signal needs to be adjusted. It isn't the most robust breadth to setups and all that, and we are losing a couple this week. So, but I think that's going to snap back into year end. So.
Yeah, and then another question somebody asked was, how much do you care about the general market and what it's doing when you're trading these, or are these kind of, do these kind of, trade on their own merit and ignore to a certain extent what the market and maybe other growth stocks are doing?
Yeah, they do trade in their own universe, I think, a lot of the times, and they can decouple from the group, maybe at the expense of the group. So we have all these notes that you're going to see in the class, and it's really thinking beyond the pattern to get your size, like something like this, some new technology, go back to 2019, a Celsius energy drink. And you pick this up from other people, you see, oh, it's number one drink on Amazon. Well, there you go. I mean, you have something going on there at a buy point. That's when you have to go for it. So, and as rare as they seem, there's several that are still forming, and some of them are lower quality. That's the thing. I mean, this is what I'm looking at, WGS. This is starting one. COMM is one. Just kind of like some ones that are forming up, and it's really important to look back to the left too to see where these things are coming from.
Hmm.
We have all these notes about what this means, and if it's a turnaround or not, and sort of like Carvana from the different dormant states and such, and it's sort of turning around. We'll get into that. Can't even find the price bars down here. That's how smoked this one was, and it starts running up the right side, and this the sales, everything kind of turned around for it. It apparently didn't go bankrupt, right? So that's the thinking. You kind of have to understand what you're getting into. Some of this stuff just sort of snaps back to old levels, and they're not great high tide flags.
Yeah, it's CBNA. It's funny how destroyed it was, and then it became just the best trading
Right.
stock you could hope for. Um,
Yeah, and we got into it, and this was a little bit of a disappointment for us here because we saw this big jump, right?
right.
And that's the earnings pop that I was saying. In this sequence, this is all we were doing. We were hitting all these, so we're adding to it here and selling some into strength, but getting rolled out. I mean, I can't hold it down there, right? If you want to roll it all the way back, you can take a look at the, where it was, something like, I don't know where it is, just not able to hold something below the 50 is really the biggest problem with being a very risk first kind of trader. Like I can't hold it down there, right? I mean, it's just sort of like, you get your profit scale and then you're out and breaking the 50. That's, I can't hold it. If that held and turned up, which is what we thought it was going to do, instead it just kind of ran some stops. So that's part of the game. I mean, I'm not going to get them all right, but we're gonna find things that make sense like that.
And this is one thing I wanted to ask you. So, say you enter at a nice tight entry, it works in your favor. How quickly and how do you judge when to adjust your stop to break even to make sure you're limiting your
Yeah.
loss if it does roll over? And when are you kind of taking your first scale, and do those kind of happen at the same time as well?
Yeah, we're looking for risk multiples. Obviously, usually one risk multiple is when either you can take a scale, depending on your signal. If things are very difficult, I might take a scale as early as that. Or even on, green signal, you can take a smaller scale, 10%. You're not losing your size, you're not losing your position in a big winner, but you're able to hold it easier, right? So going back to LUMN, I mean, I talked to Leo, who's leading the contest. Even on this day, he sold, like 5%, a little bit up 5%, right? I didn't sell any that day. My thing was right up there. And I think he also sold up there, but he didn't turn it into a loser. And that's the key, is being a great loser. Say we were wrong, but we're not going to die on this hill here, holding it, down to $4. But, it gets good news. I mean, it's possible this tightens up and turns. I just think too many people chased it.
Hmm.
So if you're going to buy these highs and get sold to, that creates that kind of pile driver action. So just holding it just a touchdown there, see if it holds in the morning. And sometimes we'll just hold on to a little piece and see if we can maybe tighten up inside and add to it, right? It kind of turns up like that, right? This is all a mistake and the news was good.
Has a shakeout under the 50.
Yeah, a little shakeout and then some kind of a turn. We'll look to get back in. I like batting cleanup sometimes. This is a little wild, but we prefer, kind of shake out to the downside and then tighten up very quickly. The market lows, so those shakeouts we're looking for, those are the easiest to read, right? You go in hindsight and say, well, that was the market low. Of course, it shook out there. You have to grade your shakeout. You can't just say it shook out. Well, what was it? It's the market low. Everybody panicked, sold everything, and then it tightened up right away. Go back to CORZ. Right? So this is the market low and tightened up right away, basically. You did a little mini right shoulder, but you couldn't break it. And then higher low in the market, coming off of that, I'm going to try it. So just a couple of things to tie it all together, I guess. So hopefully that makes sense.
No, it does for sure, and like you said, it's been cool, kind of bringing everything together as you've been planning out the two webinars we'll be doing. Which for everybody who's kind of looking for more information, you can visit TraderLion.com/university. Leif will be presenting on both November 2nd as well as the 9th, 11 a.m. Eastern. The link should be popping up right now. Is also located down below the description to register. Highly recommend it. It's going to be a really great time learning Leif's methods, and we're not just covering the entries, we'll also be covering a lot of position management, which is kind of the key part of this, right? Everybody wants to get the perfect entry, but it's how you manage the winners, manage the losers. That's really going to
losers. I got to show another loser though. Loco. So this one looked great, bouncing off the 50. You get your second touch, and then rolling the 50. Just a little over 13 and change. We're out there, and we're trying the restaurant, but Kava looks good, getting in there. Sort of doing the same trade, just this one's a leader, the other one's not doing anything. So we're gonna lose a little on that. Obviously better entry down there, but out before this. So we're not getting them all right, but we're seeing how much money we can keep in the money when things are working. When they're working like they are now, you want to be bigger, at least if you can do it. So
that's the name of the game. And Leif, anything that you kind of want to bring, wrap everything up with today, any kind of words of wisdom and maybe advice for people who are thinking about doing the class, what you hope to kind of pass on to them in those two webinars?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to think beyond the pattern, okay? Everybody's coming for the pattern, but my whole catchphrase is think beyond it. So what we're going to do is say, okay, now you have the tools, but we're going to constantly improve the odds, okay? This is my main thing. I've seen too much pattern buying and not enough thinking. So it's like, when you finally put it all together, as we're going to do in this class, you're going to think a little more beyond the pattern, but you're going to understand the pattern 100%, hopefully, at least the way I do it. So some people may argue, but hey, you want to see how I do it? This is how I do it. There's only 2 pages in O'Neill's book behind you on the high tide flag, or maybe 3 pages of weekly examples with very little information. So, but I've been trading them for a while, and I think learning how to trade them is going to help your P&L if you, at least so you know how to manage them effectively. That's the most important thing. Risk first. So
yeah, always good to learn from a specialist, and that's what you are for high tide flag. So perfect, Leif. This has been great. Again, everybody, really recommend going back through the charts that we shared today, analyzing them for yourself. Look at the part of the points where Leif is buying, where he's looking to sell to strength, all of that. You'll learn a lot through that exercise. And if you want even more practice, again, if you want a sneak preview of Leif's slides as well as the model book, which gives you even more examples, shoot us an email at support@TraderLion.com. The link to that is down below in the description as well. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. Leif, thank you for your time. And
hey, thanks for having me,
see you guys. Anytime.
And watch all Richard's videos; they're awesome. I was the second interviewee with after Jim Ropel, and I just watched Jim and you, and he's got me all fired up. I'm throwing the money at the screen, buying stocks when I see that.
That's how it gets. All right, okay. For sure. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in again, and we'll see you guys in future videos. Take care.
All right, thanks, Bye. Richard.